Everybody, thank you very much. Wow. So nice. That was not the easiest entrance I've ever made. My wife called. She said, there are helicopters following you, and we did, and then we went under a fence and through a fence, and oh, boy, I felt like I was crossing the border, actually. You know, it's true. I was crossing the border, but I got here. They said, Mr. Trump, it would be really much easier, sir, if you just didn't speak today and just left and go back immediately to Indiana. And I said, you know, we can't let these people down, right? Do we agree? We can't do it. But I appreciate it. But it was fun. It was a little different. That was a different kind of a thing. So here's the Washington Post today. The time has come to admit that Republican voters want Donald Trump as their nominee. You see that? Chris, good writer, good writer. That's pretty good. So, you know, we're making amazing progress all over. It's been incredible. Last night, as you know, we had 31,000 people. It was, and by the way, no protesters inside. I saw protesting this morning, but there were no protesters inside. But we had 31,000 people, and it was just like rocking, and everybody loved it. Was anybody there last night? It was so incredible. We're pretty far away, but I'll tell you what, it was just an incredible evening. So what's happened is we started this journey on June 16th, and it was all about trade because we make the worst trade deals probably ever in the history of any country. And then it got down to other things that I talked about. I talked about illegal immigration, which was a very important subject and has been, and because of the fact that I brought it up, now people are talking about it. Now, they don't talk about it the way I do. We got, last week, as you know, the Border Patrol, 16,500 agents, Border Patrol agents, who are phenomenal people who want to do their jobs. They're told to stand back, stand back. They're standing there, these great-looking people, strong in shape, all of the best equipment, and they're told to stand back, just let everybody come right through the border. And they endorsed me, 16,500. They've never endorsed a presidential candidate. And then Sheriff Joe, as you know, from Arizona, endorsed Trump. And he knows what he's doing. He really knows. But we have had so many incredible endorsements, and now they're coming. And I'll tell you, over the last 2 weeks, and it took place really even before that, but people see what's happening because we have far more votes than anybody else, far more delegates than anybody else. And we're going to hit that number, I think, quite easily. Because, you know, I watch the very dishonest media, and they say, oh, Cruz is getting delegates. He's not getting delegates. They say he's getting delegates. He's getting second, third, fourth, fifth round. He's not going to be there because we're going to win it in the first round. We don't even compete for him. I mean, we're so far. As of today, we have 1,001. We just broke the 1,000 mark, okay? And we did fight hard, actually, in Pennsylvania, because in Pennsylvania, I won in a landslide. We got, I guess, over 60% of the vote. And that's pretty hard when you have 3 people running. You know, when you get 60% with 2 people, you win in a landslide, right? That's called a landslide. When you have 3 people and you get practically 60%, and then in the other states, you know, we had 5, and we did unbelievable numbers, up to 66%. And it's been amazing. We had Rhode Island, and we had Delaware, and Connecticut, and Maryland, Pennsylvania, and we did great. But Pennsylvania had a little thing that if you win, you get 17. So I got the 17. And the rest you have to fight for. I said, what kind of a deal is this? In other words, you have to take them out to dinner. And this is a wonderful hotel. I'm sure your lunch is good, but they don't take them here. They take them to very fancy restaurants. They bring them to hotels. Perhaps they put them on yachts and take them for a cruise. They basically have to bribe the delegates. And it's not the right system. You know, we have a system where it's like democracy. We're supposed to be voting. And it's terrible. And fortunately, we have a great Republican leader in Pennsylvania. He's a really fair guy and a really something. And there's also a moral clause. They you know, and I've heard this for a couple of years with the delegates in Pennsylvania. If you win, there's a moral obligation that you're supposed to vote for the one who wins, which sort of makes sense, right? And, you know, I refuse to say in this room, because I say it outside and I get standing ovations, but this is a room I won't do it. But it's a rigged system. It's a rigged system, okay? It's a horrible, horrible, disgusting system. And, you know, I see this Bernie Sanders. I'm not a fan of Bernie Sanders, by the way. But I see that he's, you know, wins a lot, and he never has a chance of winning. He had a streak where he won about 10 in a row, and every time you'd watch the pundits, they'd say, oh, he can't win. It's not. You know, he's way behind. Because they have a thing called superdelegates. Well, ours is more sophisticated because you don't know how badly rigged it is, okay? With a superdelegate, it's obvious. You know, they hand her all these superdelegates. And by the way, do I look forward to beating her? Do we look forward to winning? Do we look forward to winning? I mean, if she, you know, if she's allowed to, if she's allowed to run, there's a big question. Will she be? I personally think she's being protected by the Democrats, and she'll be allowed to run, but we'll see what happens. So what we've done is we've really, I mean, we won New York with almost 62% of the vote, which was unprecedented, and got almost 100% of the delegates. So 95 delegates, we got them almost all. And then the next week we had the 5, and we won them all in landslides. And actually, Lion Ted, you know, and I think we have a couple of fans, but Lion Ted did not do too well in New York, folks. You know, he's hovering around the 10% mark. You got to do better than that if you're going to collect all these delegates on the second battle. How would you like to be in a position where we're in Cleveland, and we're having the whole deal, and it's going fine, and for some reason, and don't worry about it, we get it. I think we have it easily. But for some reason, it goes to a second ballot. And somebody on the second ballot, because they wine and dine delegates, who has 5 million less votes, because by the time we finish, and we're scheduled to do very well in California, I guess you've seen that, but really well. Yeah, really well. Last poll I saw, I'm at 49%, which is great. And there's a lot of like 20s and a 19 or something. But we're doing well. I don't want to even say it because you got to go out and work, especially my people sitting in this section. They got to work. Why don't we just pretend we're tied, okay? And that is a problem, and I've seen it. All my life I've dealt with politicians, and somebody will come into my office, the best politicians, they come into my office and they say, Donald, I say, how you doing? I'm tied. And he always says, I'm tied, and then he'll win by 25 points. But he says he has to motivate himself by saying he's tied. He even sometimes says, I'm losing, Donald, but I'm going to win. But we have picked up so many votes over the last period of time. And in fact, I was just watching the networks today, and they have a chart that I think it's already happened, but in the history of primaries, Republican primaries, I've gotten the most votes in the history of the Republican Party. Right? And we haven't even hit some of the big states yet, which is sort of an amazing thing. So we're really on a path that's incredible. And yesterday, I thought Ted did something which was really quite good. It was record-setting. It's never happened before in the history of politics. He has no path to victory. It's impossible for him to win with the votes. The only way he can possibly win is if things go terribly wrong and he goes through the back door and he bought all of these delegates, and I will never use the word bribe. I would never use a word like bribe. So if he bribed the delegates, but I don't call bribe. And then think of this. Think of the RNC and Reince, who's a good man, by the way. And Jim is a good man. Did Jim do a good job? Where's Jim? Where is Jim? He did such a great job. You know, he called me. He said, Mr. Trump, would you do me a favor? Would you take maybe 10, 15 pictures? I say, absolutely, Jim. So I'm just coming through dirt and mud and under fences. So you all walk through the lobby. I go under fences. I'm coming through. I'm looking at myself. I'm trying to get all the dust and everything off. And the 20 people that he told me about turned out to be about, what, 600, 700 people? My hand. I'm shaking hands, taking pictures, shaking hands. So that's why he's a great leader, right, Jim? Good going. I hope they paid a lot of money, Jim. But no, in the history of the Republican Party, there's never been anything like this. And then what Ted did, and yesterday in Indiana, which is an incredible place with incredible people, Bobby Knight, the great Bobby Knight, endorsed me. How good is that? And he's going to be with me all Sunday and Monday, and we are having a good time. He's some guy. He's a winner. You know, that's what we need now. We need winners. We have to win. Our country doesn't win anymore, and we have to win. We have to win. But Cruz did something that I've never seen, because he picked a vice presidential person, Carly. He picked Carly, and I like Carly. But, you know, when she left, she had no votes. Was she one? Jim, was she one or was she zero? But she had no votes. And you know what? Maybe it's a good move. Who knows? I'll let you know in about a month, all right? I don't think so. But the worst move was making a deal with Kasich. So they make this deal. I get a call 2 days ago from a number of people, and we have to do a PR statement. It's 11:45 in the evening. They said, "Oh, Mr. Trump, what happened?" They merged. Who? Kasich and Cruz. I said, "They did?" I said, "That's a good thing. It shows total weakness. It shows illegal collusion. You know, in business, you get put in jail. Politics, you can do anything you want, right?" I said, "But it shows such ineptitude and such weakness. And what's the deal?" The deal is that Cruz will take Indiana, and Kasich, and now he's sitting there eating. You know, he's eating, doing a news conference and piling pancakes into his mouth. I never saw anything like it. My son said, my little boy, Barron, he said, "Daddy, that's disgusting." I never saw a man eat like that. I've never seen a man eat while he's doing a news conference either. Did you ever see him do a news conference without eating? So these two guys formed an alliance because, think of it, I've been doing this for 9 months. I'm so honored. And you have these two politicians, they've been doing it sort of all their lives, right? I mean, Kasich approved NAFTA, which, by the way, emptied out your state. I hate to tell you, emptied out every state. But Kasich and Cruz is fine with the Chinese money manipulation. He's going to allow that to happen. Can't do that because that's how they're killing us. Devaluation of their money and their currency is killing, absolutely killing this country. Not only China, but many other places. You can't allow it. He wants to allow it. So there are a lot of things going on. Now, you want to know why he wants to allow it? Just ask the donors, ask the special interests, ask the people, because believe me, I've seen deals that are made, and these deals are, the politicians are very smart. You'd be amazed. But a lot of people ask me, how come they do these things? And it's largely because of the donors and the special interests, and I'm self-funding my campaign. So that's a big, big difference, okay? Nobody's going to tell me what to do.